A police detective dies on the job while taking out a search warrant in North York. It's believed he suffered a medical episode. This is a live look outside 31 Division, where flags have been lowered.
And a man is dead after an overnight shooting in the city's East End. We've got details on that coming up.
And the food bank of York Region says it is being forced to cut staff and services. We'll tell you why.
Plus, the Prime Minister will be shuffling his cabinet tomorrow. We'll tell you what we know so far about that straight ahead.
This is Live at 5. Good evening. I'm Bakari Savage.
And I'm Lindsay Biscaya. Welcome to Live at 5. Toronto police are mourning a colleague who died on duty this morning. Detective John Park was helping to execute a search warrant this morning when police say he died after experiencing a medical episode.
Continuing our coverage of this story, we join CP24 Steve Ryan live. Steve.
Yeah, Bakari and Lena. Or Lindsay, rather. I am outside of this address at 4001 Steeles Avenue. I'm told this is the address where the search warrant was executed early this morning by Toronto Police Hold-Up Squad. They are an elite squad, and Detective Parks was a part of that unit. And short time after that search warrant was executed, Parks was found in a vehicle, and he was unresponsive, transported to hospital, where he was subsequently pronounced vital signs absent. We were at the hospital earlier this afternoon, and it was an incredible scene to see so many police officers, police cars parked on both sides of the street paying their respects to this officer. As his remains were transported out of the hospital to the morgue, many people on foot followed behind, including his family and many of his colleagues as well. Many tears, a lot of sadness. We heard from the deputy chief as well outside of the hospital, and she said that right now this is being considered a medical emergency. There is no indication that there has been any sort of foul play. Now, of course, there'll be an autopsy, most likely done tomorrow. There'll be toxicology to see if anything contributed to this man's death, or was it as a result of natural causes, natural disease that took his life very early on. Here is more from the deputy chief, who we heard from earlier today, and here's more from Clayton Campbell, who's the president of the Toronto Police Association. Let's listen.
He was a member of the hold-up squad and an officer for 14 years, starting his career at 22 Division, where he served our city with courage and a great sense of duty. Losing a friend and colleague in the line of duty always has a profound impact on our service, on our city, on our members and our policing community. The strength, character, and resilience of our members and the entire policing family will be needed.
We stand together today. We're here as an association to support John, his family, and his colleagues. It's devastating. It's just such a sad situation in the hospital right now. But this is the time we stand together and support the family. We're both so proud of our amazing men and women in uniform that are out there every single day, keeping everybody safe in this city. And today's just a tragic day.
The detective's death is being considered a death on duty, and we won't know the official cause of death until we get the results of the autopsy. Send it back to you guys.
Okay, CP24 is Steve Ryan with those details. Steve, thanks for that.
Well, Police Chief Myron Dimke released a statement on the news of Park's death. It reads,
"The on-duty death of Detective John Park, a husband and father just days before Christmas, is devastating. The Toronto Police and the Toronto Police Association will provide unwavering support to his loved ones. The strength, character, and resilience of our members is needed at this time."
And police are investigating a fatal overnight shooting. This happened in Scarborough.
Emergency crews were called to the area of Eglinton Avenue and Markham Road around 12:15 this morning. One male victim was found injured, and he was pronounced dead in hospital. Police have not released any information on possible suspects. And for the second straight night, Durham police were called for reports of multiple shots fired at a residence.
Yeah, officers were called to the area of Haverhill Crescent in Whitby just after 1 o'clock in the morning for reports of a person with a gun. When police got there, they found two different types of shell cases. There are no reports of injuries. It's 5:04, 2 below zero. Let's get a check on the evening commute with CP24 traffic specialist, Adjo Boy. Hey, Adj.
Hey, Bakari, you know, it's not a laughing matter out there on the major routes. We have so many problems, and if you're a driver, there is no grins on your face. So if you're making your way out on the westbound lanes of the Gardner, here's what's going on. Still this ongoing collision. Now it looks like they're just in the left lane. They did have the two left lanes blocked. This is westbound Gardner at Park Lawn. It is just the left lane and shoulder occupied now. Still very slow if you're trying to get out of the downtown core. Maybe use the Lakeshore as a good alternative. 401, a slew of issues. On the westbound 401, we'll start through Victoria Park in the Express. Collision has the right lane and shoulder blocked, and then a collision further west on the 401. Looks like now they've just blocked all lanes of the Express. So not ideal for commuters stuck behind this. If you can, get to those collectors. But then as you make your way further west in the collectors, past the 400, crews dealing with this collision that does have the right lane and shoulder blocked. A heads up if you're headed towards North York. Crews on scene of an ongoing collision on Keele and Wilson. I'll send it back to you both.
This CP24 traffic report is brought to you by 407 ETR. Enjoy the journey with a stress-free commute.
Traffic headaches continue today for downtown drivers, meanwhile.
Yeah, we're talking about the intersection of King and Spadina. It's still closed 2 days after a garbage truck with a raised bin knocked down overhead wires. This cut off power to streetcars in the area. So several diversions, they are in place. With buses replacing streetcars on some lines, crews, they are working around the clock to repair or replace the damaged wires. The intersection is expected to be closed until tomorrow.
And TTC CEO Greg Percy has more on the issues that have plagued that system, such as signal issues and oil leaks.
Well, apology is a recognition that we've inconvenienced and disappointed our customers, and it's on us to make it right. So we get it, and we've got a lot of folks focused strictly on that. There's a lot of things that can be outside the control, but there's a lot that can be in control. So we're focused, and we're trying to make sure that the scheduling and delivery are bang on, but we owe our customers great service.
All right, trains on Line 1 and Line 2, they've been out of service or experiencing major delays. This is all at different times. This year, there have been slowdowns along the subway system as the TTC works to upgrade the automated system.
Meanwhile, the city has broken ground on a development in Kensington Market that it says will provide dozens of affordable homes to people in need.
The city is currently providing emergency shelter to approximately 12,000 people, and we have thousands and thousands of people on the wait list for supportive housing and rent gear to income housing. We have a homelessness crisis. We know it's tough to live on the street in cold weather, in wet experiencing, and there have been recently fires in encampments, and it is difficult. So the faster we can build this supportive housing, the more people can move indoor.
We're breaking ground. We've got shovels. There's going to be housing here, and hopefully by the end of next year, there'll be 78 new, supportable, deeply affordable homes right here in the heart of Kensington Market, where there's used to be homes which the city expropriated, bulldozed, and turned into a parking lot. So here we are turning it back into homes which we need.
The city says the site at 35 Bellevue Avenue will be complete by the end of next year.
Well, the Food Bank of York Region says that it's being forced to cut staff and services because of a drop in funding and donations.
This comes at a time when food insecurity has reached new heights. The food bank says client usage is up more than 23% this year, and it's now feeding nearly 40,000 people. At the same time, funding and donations are down significantly. The food bank says York Region cut funding to a program that supported the organization in 2023, and they're calling on officials to reverse that and declare food insecurity a crisis.
A lot of our donors have become clients. So rather than giving donations, doing food drives, or even funding the programs that we have, we're now supplying them with food items. So it's a very hard thing to watch in the community. And at the same time, we have to be thinking of new and creative ways that we can be that support system that's needed in the York Region.
And the Agri-Food Analytics Lab at Dalhousie University has named food bank usage their story of the year. Visits to food banks across the country reached record levels this year as food insecurity rose to nearly 23%. The increasing cost of living has left more people with less money to buy groceries. Other top food stories were the carbon tax debate on its impact on food costs, as well as the threat of tariffs from Trump.
And GoFundMe is out with its annual giving report for 2024.
The crowdfunding site says when it comes to generosity, 3 Ontario cities made the top 10 list. Milton was 5th, Brampton was 6th, and Thunder Bay was 8th. The most generous city in Canada was Victoria, BC. According to GoFundMe, more than 2.4 million donations were made this year to help Canadians, and fundraising for family causes grew 40%.
Time now is 5:10, sitting at -2 outside. This is Live at 5.
Well, just before the holidays, the Prime Minister is set to shuffle his cabinet tomorrow. After the break, we're going to have more on if the last-minute moves can save the ailing Liberals.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau will be shuffling his cabinet tomorrow.
Yeah, sources confirmed to CTV News that Trudeau will be making the long-awaited reconfiguration of his cabinet following the departure of several ministers in recent months. A ceremony at Rideau Hall will be Trudeau's first public appearance since the surprise resignation of Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland. That was on Monday.
And newly appointed Finance Minister Dominic LeBlanc spoke on the growing calls for Prime Minister Justin Trudeau to resign.
That's a view they're expressing. The Prime Minister listened carefully when that view was expressed to him. Colleagues did what is the appropriate thing. They, in a caucus meeting, expressed those views directly to the Prime Minister himself. He listened. He, in some cases, responded to specific things that were raised. And he said he would reflect carefully on what he's heard. That's how the process works. That's the way these things are decided. And I'm confident that the government will remain focused on the work that Canadians want us to focus on.
And CTV political commentator Scott Reid joined CP24 this afternoon to talk about the shuffle and the implications for the Prime Minister.
What's a big shuffle? He moves 6, 8, 10, rewards 10, let's say. It probably won't be that large. But he rewards 10 members of Parliament, puts them into caucus, into cabinet, I should say. There's still 30, 40, 60 caucus members now who know that they have no opportunity for advancement. So in combination with polls that are dire, in combination with the Prime Minister refusing to acknowledge reality, and in combination with the evidence that their careers are not about to be improved in the short term, what do you think those members of Parliament are going to say and think? This is a boxed canyon that the Prime Minister has rode into, and I don't think he can ride out.
Trudeau said he would reflect on what he's being told during an emergency caucus meeting set for Monday evening.
And with uncertainty on Parliament Hill, Canadian businesses are questioning whether some big tax changes, such as increases on capital gains, will be passed.
Yeah, BNN Bloomberg's Paul Bagnall has more on that.
Changes like the capital gains inclusion tax, and I think many people will remember that. That was a change announced by the government some time ago. For instance, somebody selling a cottage, if that cottage is not a primary residence, would be liable for a gain if they've made a gain compared to what they purchased the cottage for. And under the new rules, more of that gain would be taxable. It's called the inclusion rate. And there are other tax changes that have been announced but not yet passed into law. And that inclusion rate change has not yet been passed into law. And so Canadian businesses are wondering what's going on.
Okay, MPs were not able to vote on the fall economic statement before the House rose for more than a month and a half long holiday break.
Okay, a warning now for our viewers. The details of this next story are disturbing. The ex-husband of Giselle Pellico has been found guilty of drugging and raping his wife and recruiting other men to rape her over the course of nearly a decade.
Well, there were cheers of support for Pellico as she left the courthouse in Avignon today. Her courage and stoicism during the 3-month trial, they've turned her into an icon for many. Her ex-husband was sentenced to the maximum 20 years in prison. 50 other men were also found guilty in the shocking case. And Pellico says the trial was very difficult, but she and her grandchildren, she had them in mind as she endured the hearings.
Staying in France, the president is seeing firsthand the extent of devastation on the island of Mayotte.
Well, Emmanuel Macron surveyed the damage that Cyclone Chido wrought across the French territory as thousands of people tried to cope with the bare essentials like water or electricity. The island, which lies off the southeastern coast of Africa, has a lot of undocumented migrants, which is making calculating the death toll difficult.
And 2 highway crashes in southeastern Afghanistan have left 50 people dead and 76 people injured.
Now, the collisions happened on the same highway that connects the Afghan capital with the south. So the first involved a passenger bus and an oil tanker. The second crash saw a bus hit a truck. Local authorities say women and children are among the casualties. And the man arrested in the killing of a health insurance CEO in Manhattan has now been extradited to New York.
Luigi Mangione was escorted by police after arriving in New York City from Pennsylvania, where he was arrested. United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson died after he was ambushed outside of the Manhattan hotel earlier this month. The 26-year-old Mangione has been charged with murder as an act of terrorism and is also being charged with a federal murder charge, which would require the death penalty that would be possible if convicted.
Well, there's some tense moments last night. This is aboard a Porter Airlines flight from Ottawa to Toronto.
Yeah, the plane did land safely at Pearson Airport after making a mayday call. Video from the scene shows emergency services surrounding the plane on the tarmac. According to a Porter spokesperson, the crew was alerted to something that led them to declaring the mayday. However, Porter says preliminary inspections indicated no issues with the aircraft, and passengers safely deplaned and were taken to the terminal.
Right now it's 5:18, holding at 2 below zero. This is Live at 5.
The Etobicoke Swim Club is celebrating Summer McIntosh tonight. We'll have more on that just ahead. Stay with us. Olympic medalist and world champion swimmer Summer McIntosh is being celebrated in Etobicoke today.
And for more on this and her stellar year, let's go live to CP24, Sija Liu. Sija, where are you? I'm looking for a pool behind you.
Yeah. Yeah, I am at the Etobicoke Olympian, and Summer McIntosh, the superstar swimmer, she is training as we speak. But once she gets out of the pool, she will be meeting and greeting with the young fans who are so excited to meet their superstar swimmer hero. And joining me right now are Damien and Avery, 2 young swimmers who are about to meet Summer in just a few moments here. Guys, Summer, she is a 3-time Olympic gold medalist, world champion, world record holder. How excited are you to meet her?
Very. I have met her before, just not to like meet and greet, just to get a cap signed or like a shirt signed, and I didn't really get to talk. Just asking her to sign stuff.
Well, exciting. You'll get a chance to shake her hand and ask her a few questions today. And Avery, you know, she is not that much older than you, only 18 years old. How inspiring is it to see her do such great things in the pool and accomplish so much?
It's just like really amazing to see how hard she's worked and like the stuff that's come out of it.
How does it feel to know that she trains in the same pool you train in?
It's just really amazing to think that like she's in the same area as me.
And what was it like watching her in the Paris Olympics, where she won 3 gold medals, a silver? What was it like watching that live in real time?
Well, it was really cool because what I usually do, I watch the Olympics and I see what the best time is or worst time, whatever the times are, and then I compare them to my times. And it was crazy to see how much faster she is. It was really cool.
Yeah, really puts things into perspective. So when you meet her in about half an hour here, what is a question you'd like to ask her or something you'd like to talk about?
How's it like to be famous? Because I've always wondered, like, having so many interviews, being that well known, like going all around. Yep.
Good question. What about you, Avery? What would you like to ask her?
Who inspired her? Because we have her to inspire us, but who did inspire her?
Really great question. Well, thank you so much for joining us, guys, and I hope you get to chat with her very soon. So a lot of happy faces here, excited to meet their idol, Summer McIntosh, who is just so inspiring at just 18 years old, and her accolades just keep on growing. Just the other day, she was named the World Aquatic Swimmer of the Year, which just is adding on to all her accomplishments. Back to you guys.
All right, CP24, CJ, not exactly in the pool, but we'll take it.
Poolside. Poolside.
Thanks, CJ.
Well, the Raptors are back at home tonight to take on the Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah, Toronto's carrying a 5-game losing streak following a 122-121 loss Monday against the Chicago Bulls. The Raptors are second last in the NBA's Eastern Conference with a record of 7 wins and 20 losses. Tip-off is set for 7:30.
And in with Robertson. Here's Domi to the net. Scores! Max Domi has tied it.
And the Leafs were on the road last night visiting the Stars in Dallas. Max Domi got the buds on the score sheet. Domi, along with line mates Nick Robertson and Bobby McMahon, all potted goals last night. William Nylander scored twice, and Joseph Woll stopped 37 shots in the 5-3 victory. With that win, the Leafs move back into first place in the Atlantic Division. Next up for the Leafs is a date with the Sabres. That is in Buffalo tomorrow night.
And the World Juniors begins in Ottawa 1 week from today, and Canada's best young hockey players, they're getting in plenty of practice. Team Canada has spent the past few days at a training camp at CFW Petawawa. The team skated with players from the Petawawa Stags men's and women's military teams and local youth teams. The last time Team Canada prepared for the World Juniors in Petawawa was when Ottawa last hosted the tournament. That was in 2009. Canada won gold.
And the Denver Broncos will look to clinch a playoff spot against the Los Angeles Chargers in the lone game on the NFL schedule tonight.
Yeah, Denver's coming off a dominating 31-13 win on Sunday against the Indianapolis Colts, extending their win streak to 4 games. With the win tonight, the Broncos will return to the postseason for the first time since 2015. Kickoff is set for 8:15.
It's 5:25 -2 outside. This is Live at 5.
And the Oscars have released their short list in 10 categories. We're going to tell you what some of them are just ahead. And the Oscars have released their short list in 10 categories.
What is this feeling so sudden and new? I felt the moment I laid eyes on you.
Wicked is one of the films leading the charge, landing 4 mentions overall for the upcoming 97th Academy Awards. Gladiator 2 was also among the top films with mentions for sound, visual effects, and original score. And Conan O'Brien will be hosting the Oscars. That happens on March 2nd.
For right now, it's 5:28, holding at 2 below zero. This is Live at 5.
A Toronto police detective dies on the job while taking out a search warrant in North York. It's believed he suffered a medical episode, but we are going to have details coming up right after this. A Toronto police detective dies on the job while taking out a search warrant in North York. It's believed he suffered a medical episode. This is a live look outside 31 Division tonight, where flags have been lowered.
And a man's dead following an overnight shooting in the city's East End.
Plus, the Food Bank of York Region says it is being forced to cut staff and services. We'll tell you why coming up.
And the Prime Minister will be shuffling his cabinet tomorrow. We'll tell you what we know so far.
This is Live at 5. Good evening. I'm Lindsay Biscaya.
And I'm Bakari Savage. Toronto police are mourning a colleague who died on duty this morning. Detective John Park was helping to execute a search warrant this morning. That's when police say he died after experiencing a medical episode.
CP24's Steve Ryan joins us now with the story. And Steve, we heard from police today, obviously, understandably, very upset.
Yeah, it was heartbreaking to witness what went on today, Lindsay. It started this morning at this location behind me at 4001 Steeles Avenue, which is in the Steeles and Jane Street area. Park, who has been with the police service for 14 years as a detective, was part of the elite hold-up squad. After the warrant was executed, he was found in a vehicle a short time later, non-responsive, and he was subsequently pronounced dead VSA at the hospital. And it was just very emotional to be down at the Humber River Hospital today. All of the police cars, dozens of police cars lined both sides of the streets with their lights on. They stood at attention on both sides of the street, and they saluted Park's remains as he was transported from the hospital a short distance away to the coroner's building. Behind that vehicle were his colleagues, visibly upset as well, and family, including kids. And there was not one dry eye as they passed our location going into the coroner's building. So the police have said that they do not suspect that there's foul play. There needs to be an autopsy, of course. That will give an exact cause of death, an anatomical cause of death. Toxicology will be done as well, but right now it's being classified as a medical emergency. Nonetheless, it was heartbreaking for many in the city here, especially the Toronto police officers who were at that location at the hospital earlier today. Here's more from the deputy chief. We heard from her outside of Humber River Hospital, and we heard from Clayton Campbell, who is the president of the Toronto Police Association. Let's listen to both.
Our thoughts are with his loved ones and our colleagues during this profoundly difficult time. John is survived by his wife, Tina, and his 2 young children, ages 9 and 5 years old. This is heartbreaking news just before Christmas. And there's no words to express the sorrow that we feel right now.
We stand together to support the family and the colleagues of this brave officer who served in our hold-up squad, which is one of the most elite units in the service with 14 years. They look after the carjackings we talk about, the home invasions, the robberies, and we're just so proud of his career, and we're here to support together his family and colleagues through this horrific time.
So a post-mortem examination will certainly assist with any death investigation. That will give the investigators what the official cause of death was, and that could take some time while the police wait those results. So back to the desk.
Okay, that's CP24's crime analyst Steve Ryan breaking that down for us tonight. Steve, thanks.
And police are investigating a fatal overnight shooting in Scarborough.
Emergency crews were called to the area of Eglinton Avenue and Markham Road around 12:15 this morning. One male victim was found injured and he was pronounced dead in hospital. Police have not released any information on possible suspects at this point. And police are also trying to identify a man after a person was held up at knife point on a TTC bus.
Yeah, this happened the night of November 20th on a bus near Victoria Park Station. So police say that the victim was on a bus when they were approached by a person with a knife and threatened in an attempted robbery. So the victim got off the bus without giving up any belongings and were unharmed. Anyone who recognizes the person in these photos that you see, you're asked to contact police.
Okay, it's 5:34. We're going to take a quick check on the commute out there with CP24's traffic specialist, Adjoa. How's it looking?
Ooh, not looking too good, Lindsay. And it's not going to be a quick drive for commuters that are trying to make their way home this hour. A slew of problems happening on the 401 if you're traveling on the westbound side. So we'll start westbound 401. These long-standing issues still with us in the express through Victoria Park. Still that right lane and shoulder blocked up following this collision. Now, as you head further west on the 401, this is in the collector lanes. Just as you make your way past the 400, collision does have the right lane occupied. Then on the flip side, eastbound on the 401, if you're headed towards Keele in the express, center lane blocked at the collision. It was involving a truck as well. It's off to the side. And if your travels do take you on to the 401, just through Weston, they were talking about a problem in the collectors. Haven't spotted it yet. Outside of camera view, we have another problem. My camera went out through this area, but on the eastbound 401, in the transfer lanes, just past the 400, it is a collision. It's the left lane that is occupied. I'll send it back to you both.
All right, thanks, Ad.
You're welcome.
Traffic headaches continue today for downtown drivers.
The intersection of King and Spadina still closed 2 days after a garbage truck with a raised bin knocked down overhead wires, cutting power to streetcars in the area. Several diversions are in place with buses replacing streetcars on some lines, and crews are working around the clock to repair or replace those damaged wires. That intersection is expected to be closed, though, until tomorrow.
And TTC CEO Greg Percy has more of the issues that have plagued the system. We're talking about signal issues and oil leaks.
There's a number of inconveniences that our customers have been putting up with. We will get those fixed in 2025. And we've got, as you said, lines 5 and 6 coming on board, and we will get those right. So yeah, we want the ridership to come back, but we know that it's a privilege we have to earn and they're just not going to come just to be nice. So we got to give them great service consistently.
Trains on Line 1 and Line 2 have been out of service or have experienced some major delays at different times this year, and there have been slowdowns along the subway system as the TTC works to upgrade the automated signals.
Well, the city's broken ground on a development in Kensington Market that it says will provide dozens of affordable homes to people in need.
There are 32,000 purpose-built rental homes that have the application have come in, okay, with all these developers. We can't afford to do all of them, but we are providing an approval to 17 projects delivering over 8,000 rental homes. So as we put shovel in the ground to build nonprofit supportive housing, we are also having a lot of developers out there building rental homes. 20% of them will be affordable.
This is an incredible milestone. This is part of the Housing TO Action Plan, trying to ensure that everyone has the opportunity to thrive. And we set very, very ambitious targets with the leadership of our mayor to build tens of thousands of homes. And here we are building something. So it's important.
The city says the site at 35 Bellevue Avenue will be completed by the end of next year.
Well, the Food Bank of York Region says that it's being forced to cut staff and services because of a drop in funding and donations.
This comes at a time when food insecurity reaches new heights. The food bank says client usage is up more than 23% this year, and it is now feeding nearly 40,000 people. At the same time, funding and donations are down significantly. The food bank says York Region cut funding to a program that supported the organization in 2023, and they are calling on officials to reverse that and declare food insecurity a crisis.
Right now, our rate of service for these children is 33.6%. Provincially, it's only 29%. So the children of York Region are desperately in need of our services. We've actually had to cut back staff. We've had to cut back service to a couple of our community partners, including school pantry programs. So that just means that children are going hungry because we really need to emphasize the fact that we need corporate support, we need community support.
And the Agri-Food Analytics Lab at Dalhousie University has named food bank usage their story of the year. Visits to food banks across Canada reached record levels this year as food insecurity rose to nearly 23%. The increasing cost of living, it's left more people with less money to buy groceries. Other top food stories were the carbon tax debate and its impact on food costs, as well as the threat of tariffs from Trump.
It is 5:40 now, sitting at -2 outside. This is Live at 5.
And just days before the holidays, the Prime Minister is set to shuffle his cabinet tomorrow. After the break, we're going to have more on if the last-minute moves can save the ailing Liberals. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau will be shuffling his cabinet tomorrow.
Sources have confirmed to CTV News Trudeau will be making those long-awaited reconfigurations of his cabinet following the departure of several ministers in recent months. The ceremony at Rideau Hall will be Trudeau's first public appearance since the surprise resignation of Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland on Monday.
A newly appointed Finance Minister Dominic LeBlanc says that he understands the concerns of Canadians amid tariff threats from President-elect Donald Trump.
If we're potentially 5 weeks away from 25% tariffs applied across the board to Canadian exports to the United States, Canadians would understandably, I think, be impatient with a government that looks at itself all the time. We shouldn't be looking inward. We shouldn't be worrying about ourselves. The government got the confidence of the House of Commons 10 times last week. So the opposition parties that are all outraged, they need an election right away, they voted confidence in the government 10 times last week.
And CTV political commentator Scott Reid joins CP24 this afternoon to discuss tomorrow's shuffle and the implications for the Prime Minister.
Tomorrow, we're going to be sitting, here on camera, people posted all around Rideau Hall watching for the Prime Minister. And I think it's very likely he will tell us that he has no intention of sharing a view on his own future. And I think many people are going to find that frustrating. And he may find, combined with a cabinet shuffle, which means that he has to pick between members of parliament that he will reward and those that he will not. I think he may find that all of that may trigger an even more forceful rebuke from his own caucus. And he may see that there's a growing chorus of voices saying from within the party, within the government, that he has to go.
Also, Trudeau said that he would reflect on what he's being told during an emergency caucus meeting Monday evening.
Okay, a warning now for our viewers. The details of this next story are disturbing. The ex-husband of Giselle Pellico has been found guilty of drugging and raping his wife and recruiting other men to rape her over the course of nearly a decade.
Well, there were cheers of support for Pellico as she left a courthouse in Avignon today. Her courage and stoicism during the 3-month trial have turned her into an icon for many. Her ex-husband was sentenced to the maximum 20 years in prison. 50 other men were also found guilty in the shocking case. Pellico says that the trial was very difficult, but she had her grandchildren in mind as she endured the hearings.
Meanwhile, France's president is seeing firsthand the extent of devastation on the island of Mayotte.
Emmanuel Macron surveyed the damage that Cyclone Chido wrought across the French territory as thousands of people tried to cope without the bare essentials like water or electricity. And the island, which lies off the southeastern coast of Africa, has many undocumented migrants, which is making calculating the death toll difficult. And 2 highway crashes in southeastern Afghanistan have left 50 people dead, 76 injured.
Yeah, those collisions happen on the same highway that connects the Afghan capital with the south. The first involved a passenger bus and an oil tanker. The second crash saw a bus hit a truck. Local authorities say women and children are among the casualties.
Well, the man arrested in the killing of a health insurance CEO in Manhattan has now been extradited to New York.
Luigi Mangione was escorted by police after arriving in New York City from Pennsylvania, where he was arrested. United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson died after he was ambushed outside of a Manhattan hotel earlier this month. The 26-year-old Mangione has been charged with murder as an act of terrorism and will also face federal murder and stalking charges.
Well, there's some tense moments last night on board a Porter Airlines flight from Ottawa to Toronto.
The plane landed safely at Pearson Airport after making a Mayday call. Video from the scene shows emergency services surrounding the plane on the tarmac. According to a Porter spokesperson, the crew was alerted to something that led them to declaring the Mayday. However, Porter says preliminary inspections indicated no issues with the aircraft. Passengers safely deplaned and were taken to the terminal. Definitely a scary experience, though.
Yeah. Right now it's 5:46, holding at 2 below zero. This is Live at 5.
The Raptors are back at home tonight to take on the Brooklyn Nets. We'll have more on that just ahead. Stay with us.
Olympic medalist and world champion swimmer Summer McIntosh is being celebrated in Etobicoke today.
So for more on this and her stellar year, of course, we're going to go live to CP24 Sija Lu, who is standing by. Have you seen Summer McIntosh yet, Sija?
We have seen her in the pool. It's kind of hard to tell who she is because they're all wearing white caps, but you can tell because she is clearly the fastest swimmer in the pool. I mean, she is a 3-time Olympic gold medalist, 4-time world champion, and 3-time world record holder. And in about 10-15 minutes or so, the young fans here will get a chance to meet their swimming superstar. But right now, I have her mother here with me, Jill McIntosh. I'm sure you have driven her to lots of practices. What is it like seeing your daughter kind of just shine in the spotlight right now, inspiring so many young swimmers?
It's so fun to see Summer in her element. I mean, she just loves giving back to her old club and the young swimmers, hoping to inspire the next generation.
What was it like watching her at the Paris Olympics? I mean, that was a time when she really became a household name with all those gold medals.
It was spectacular. I mean, we weren't able to watch the Tokyo Olympics, so Paris was a treat for everyone, and it was a fabulously, attended, super amazing event, and so many Canadians did so well, and we were super, super proud of Summer and all her teammates.
And tell us about the process of, raising an Olympian, the schedule, the work that goes in behind the scenes.
I mean, it's a lot. I mean, the older they get, the easier it is. As soon as they get their driver's license and you don't have to get up at 4:15 to drive 5 minutes, it's amazing. I mean, as they grow older, they get a lot more independent. But I mean, swimming is a very grueling training sport. You know, you're in the water 9-10 times a week and a handful of dry land sessions. I mean, it is a pure commitment from the athlete's perspective.
And it's hard to believe that she accomplished all of this and she is only 18 years old. What has been the most memorable moment for you or something that you're the most proud of?
I would say just the way Summer carries herself and how she is like truly a good role model for younger swimmers, and is really important for her to give back to the sport. And, you know, it's all the medals and all that is fantastic, but when you see your daughter, you know, really shine as a person, and, you know, that's really, as a parent, that's all that matters.
That's amazing. Well, in a few moments here, all these young swimmers will get a chance to meet Summer. So thank you so much for speaking us with today. So like she mentioned, Summer is known to be an amazing swimmer, but also a great person outside of the pool. She swims and trains at this facility, the Etobicoke Olympian, right now, sometimes 9 days a week, twice a day. She has a very tight schedule, but she is still making time for her fans and inspiring the next generation. We'll talk to you guys in a little bit. Thanks.
All right. Live in Etobicoke, CP24, CJ Lee. CJ, thank you.
Well, the Raptors are back at home tonight to take on the Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah, Toronto's carrying a 5-game losing streak following a 122-121 loss Monday against the Chicago Bulls. Well, the Raptors are second last in the NBA's Eastern Conference with a record 7 wins and 20 losses. Tip-off is set for 7:30.
And in with Robertson. Here's Domi to the net. Scores! Max Domi has tied it.
The Leafs were on the road last night visiting the Stars in Dallas. Max Domi got the Buds on the score sheet. Domi, along with Nick Robertson and Bobby McMahon, all potted goals last night. William Nylander also scored twice, and Joseph Woll stopped 37 shots in the 5-3 victory. So with that win, the Leafs move back into first place in the Atlantic Division. Next up for the Leafs is a date with the Sabres. That's in Buffalo tomorrow night.
Well, the Canadian men's soccer team is ending the year ranked 31st in the world.
And that's the highest the team has ever been ranked, which they reached to at the end of November. World Cup champion Argentina continues at number 1, followed by France, Spain, England, and then Brazil. The Canadian men face Mexico in March in the CONCACAF Nations League semifinal in California.
Well, the BC man who dropped his camera into the ocean accidentally caught a big surprise.
CTV's Adam Sawatsky has the breathtaking video.
A bit of overcast and calm water.
Before it turned into an extraordinary day,
went down to the dock.
Peter Maris says it began being quite ordinary.
This is the 360 camera.
The underwater videographer was trying to see if he could tie this new camera to that old fishing pole and reel it in and out of the ocean when the line broke.
I thought, that sucks.
But before Peter could dive down to fetch it, a flock of birds and a herd of sea lions started feasting on a school of anchovies.
A little bit like a National Geographic moment.
Until the unexpected arrival of a humpback whale.
Holy
turned the moment into a lot like one.
Oh, man, it was thrilling.
And that's when Peter's wife and partner at Rendezvous Dive Adventures, Kathy Johnson, started recording the whale joining the hunt too.
I mean, anything that size, that close, it almost took your breath away.
Their dog, Sam, was equally astounded. And after 2 hours of watching in wonder what was unfolding above the water, Peter retrieved that camera that had sunk and was shocked to see what had been recorded under it.
And we're going like, oh my Lord. This is a once in a lifetime.
We just burst with glee, you know? Watched it over and over again just because we couldn't believe what we were seeing.
And while the couple was struck by how gracefully and thoughtfully the big whale swam around their dock in such shallow water, they were also filled with gratitude that fishing rod experiment ultimately failed.
Failure is just another step towards success.
So why get frustrated when things don't go according to plan, they say? Because you just might find things turn out even better than you could have conceived.
One way to get amazing things is if you take the risk. And so you got to try, because you just never know.
Adam Sawatsky, CTV News.
Wow, to be a fly on the wall or a fish under the sea, right?
Fish under the sea. Good one, Bakari.
It's 5:56, 2 below zero. This is Live at 5.
We are in the final days of 2024. So after the break, we'll take you to early party preparations in New York City. Stay with us.
Well, a giant sign of the year to come has arrived in Times Square in New York City. Literally.
Yeah, the 2-meter-tall 2025 sign is a major tourist attraction in the Big Apple. The sign's made up of more than 600 light bulbs. It'll be at street level until December 23rd. Then it will be lifted to the top of Times Square, where it'll light up the bulb drops at midnight on New Year's Day.
Right now it's 5:59, 2 below zero. This is Toronto's breaking news, CP24.
Thanks for watching. CTV News at 6 is next.